Mino Raiola knows that Paul Pogba doesn't really want to be at Manchester United anymore, or at least would like to move. He also knows that his priority, or his dream at least, would be to play for Real Madrid. That seems, at the moment at least, quite difficult in terms that Real Madrid are focusing on Eden Hazard, as we just said. Luka Jovic is done. Ferland Mendy, the French international left-back, will be done very soon. And then maybe they will look into Paul Pogba, who is one of Zinedine Zidane's priorities. So this one still might happen. However, if that doesn't happen, Mino Raiola and Paul Pogba needs another option. And I think Juventus could be one of the options.
What a mess, eh? If you're United.
Wow.
You've got your picture child, your Paul Pogba, the person that's on everywhere, the person that has given you all of this marketing, wants out. And he doesn't only want out Real Madrid, he basically wants out any door he can find.
It's a complete and utter shambles. I mean, even the other players must be wondering what's going to go on, you know, because Solskjaer's been saying that there's going to be mass changes. There's been, as far as I'm aware, unless I've been under a rock somewhere.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Then nobody's left, nobody's come in, and we just really don't know. The thing's a shambles. You've got supposedly your best player wanting out. I mean, what a mess.
How hard do you push to keep him?
Not very. Sorry, but you know the only issue I think there is, well, not the only issue. One of the issues is the earlier they sell, I think they will sell him when the price is right, whoever it is one of the issues is if they do it early, then the club and Solskjaer goes to other players. What do they say? You know, because a player will say, well, hold on a minute, you've just lost your so-called best player, your talisman. You're selling him. Who are you replacing him? Why would I go to you? Europa League football next year. The players want to go. So the longer he's there, the more potential they can sell it to other players and say, listen, we're building, even though they probably know behind the scenes they're going to lose him at some point. But in terms of him staying at Man United, I think that's a dead rubber now. I think there's been too many noises. It's clear he wants out. It's clear that the appointment of Solskjaer hasn't really altered his thinking process. And quite frankly, you know, I think for the club and for him himself, they're better to part ways for the second time.
Would you keep him?
Yep.
Would you?
Aye. I keep him. I don't see how they can get rid of him without losing money for a start. And at the end of the day, they're in a position now where they're going to have to speculate on a lot of players. There's not that many guarantees that they can go and buy and bring to Manchester United to make them, number one, a top 4 team and make them a team who can compete at the Champions League. They're going to have to speculate. So I think you have to keep them.
The trouble is, if you want to build a team around somebody or help structure a team around somebody, you're effectively trying to structure it around somebody that doesn't want to be there. And that's a problem. So it's never really, I think, going to work whilst he wants to be somewhere else. And that's the issue that Man United, Solskjaer, Ed Woodward, if he's bothered, find themselves in. And that's why I think they'll find an answer and find a suitable fee and they'll try and sell it as a win-win for the club when, you know, really and truly it's not really.
I'm really not quite convinced yet that Pogba is just saying, I want it. I think if they turned around and made some good moves...
But what moves, Stevie? It's difficult. You're united with Solskjaer in the Europa League.
I just don't believe that Paul Pogba just turned around and said to Raiola, right, you know what, get me out of here. Yeah. Just forget it.
Jules, you got Stevie very much. You know, the glass is half full. Are you with him on this?
I think Pogba had a good season. I don't care what people say. He scored 16 goals, gave 12
Jules,
assists.
Come on, don't be like that.
No, it's true. He was in a very average team. He had average players around. Apart from 1 or 2, this wasn't a very average team. I mean, Paul Pogba can't do miracles either. And I know at times his attitude has been poor, and he could have done much better. Could have run more. Could have done this. Could have done that. I get that. Let's not forget how bad this United team has been this season, apart from the game against PSG in Paris. But it was not good. It was not easy for him. It was a tough season, and I think that 16 goals, 12 assists. At times, he carried that team pretty much by himself, with Solskjaer, who, let's be honest, at the beginning he worked because he brought a smile back in the dressing room and at the club, but very quickly he got found out tactically by pretty much everybody else, including Cardiff City in that league. So it was just not easy. I think it's not as black and white as like, oh, Paul Pogba is not good enough. Or it was hard for him. And I think that I can understand why he would want to move to a Juventus again, or to a Real Madrid, or to another top European club, instead of staying in a club that is not going to improve in the summer. We all know that. He's going to play Europa League football, and whose objective will be trying to finish 5th next season in the Premier League.
And he knows, not us personally, but he knows shows like ours and networks like ours around the world, if he stays at Man United, we'll be talking about Paul Pogba in a similar fashion next year.
Right.
You know, whether you're in the Jules camp, if he had a good season or a bad or an average, people will look at Pogba and say, well, you look at United, they're still trailing behind Liverpool and Man City, because they will be.
Yep.
Right? Look at United, they're only competitive in the Europa League, and Pogba's not doing enough. And I think he realises, I think he's clearly smart enough to know that they're going to be miles behind the 2 top boys in England, and certainly a long way behind everybody in Europe, apart from the in the Europa League, it might be a leveller. And I don't think he wants all that again, because he's had a lot of scrutiny over the last couple of years. A lot of scrutiny.
For more, sign up now for ESPN Plus.